Good morning. I think it's still morning, and I have the unenviable spot of holding you back from lunch. So I'm going to go as quickly as I can, but I want to give you information about this because I know people have been talking about it. Are you familiar with the Mobility Challenge? Kind of raise some hands, people have heard about it. Okay, so a few of you, so good. So you're a fresh audience for me. So let's go to the next one if I can. Oh, that went off. There we go. So how did the Michigan Mobility Challenge come to be? So let me give you a little bit of background. The legislature and Governor Snyder saw that we had a surplus of funds. Some revenues came in higher than anticipated. So they gave about $175 million to MDOT. And they said of that, though, they wanted $8 million of it to go to filling mobility gaps, specifically for seniors, people with disabilities, and veterans. And they wanted us to utilize technology because we're really becoming known as leaders in technology regarding mobility, connected and automated vehicles specifically. So they said to me, hey, do this challenge, and we want you to have a workshop in 3 weeks, and we want things on the road and, by elections. So we backed them off a little bit from that. But we did move forward, and we were very excited because there's a national program that's similar to this, and they distributed $8 million around the country. So the fact that we could put that kind of money into putting new services out in our state was a huge opportunity. So what were the goals of the challenge? We kind of came down to a list of goals that we really thought were important to fill these gaps, but do it in a way that was unique and that would teach lessons and give us a best practices guide. We wanted projects that were innovative, so that used new technology, but also with an eye towards emerging technology. How do you get us ready for what's coming? We want it to be coordinated. We have a good public transportation network in this state, but it needs some help. We don't want to set one aside for the other. So we wanted to make sure these projects were in coordination with existing public transportation and also in coordination with advocacy groups. There's a lot of people working to help fill needs for all those targeted populations. And then the private industry, those technology firms, those startups, we wanted all of them to work together to create a coordinated solution. We want it to be supplemental, as I mentioned. We don't want it to be just a standalone. It should be part of the overall transportation network. And we want it to be sustainable. This was a gift. This money was a gift. It's not an ongoing source of funding. So these projects should look towards how do you sustain once this demonstration or startup funding is gone. And some things that I need to mention that may or may not make some of you happy. We're not looking for research. We're looking for action. So the research that a lot of you conducted or a lot of you are familiar with, how do you put that into action and put service on the roads? And I know we've talked about a lot of different types of mobility today. So I just want to make it clear that when we talk about mobility, we're talking about shared use primarily. So not just getting someone in their private car and making it easier for them to take a private car, but for letting them have access to all different modes of transportation. And I mentioned the workshop a few minutes ago. Why a workshop? And the workshop was really twofold. It was to start bringing partners together. So it was, we had to do it in a very quick time, and we had a limited size space that we could do it in. So it was by invitation only. And it brought together those private firms from around the country, the public transit providers and some planning organizations from within the state, and advocacy groups from within the state. And it let them start having that conversation, and it allowed us to listen in and say, okay, are we going the right direction with this mobility challenge? And it gave us some good ideas for we had an outline, but it let us really focus it more toward what we heard at that workshop, what the real barriers were, and what some potential solutions were. So we issued the call for projects. And the call for projects spells out the instructions of what you're to do. So it keeps in mind those goals that I mentioned to you, but it also gives you points, like how important are each thing to us. We want it to be team driven. We need the applications to explain the problem and then explain the solution, why you think this will solve that problem, how you're going to measure that, and how it's going to be sustained. Then to put that together, submit it to us, and I'll tell you the website and the address where you submit it on the next slide. If you're having trouble finding partners, we wanted that website that we developed to also help with that. So we put some information out there, a transit overview that you can click on. It will give you links to all of the public transit agencies around the state, links to the planning organizations. You can also reach out to Planet M for private partners, for those tech firms. And if you're not familiar with Planet M is an arm of the MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the pure Michigan people. And they're really focused on bringing tech firms into the state. So they have great outreach to tech firms. The deadline for that study for the proposals is July 16th. It's a very quick turnaround. We hope to get those reviewed within a month. And the review panel is going to include all the people that I mentioned as partners. So Department of Health and Human Services will be helping me review the applications that come in, serving needs of clients that they serve. Veterans Affairs will be reviewing some of them. Office of Services to the Blind. I have Advocates for the Deaf. So we're trying to make sure that we're really meeting the needs of those groups, and so that the people who work with them most are helping us evaluate, so that in the end we really can find the best practices. And I had an interesting question yesterday when I was presenting that what if we fail? What if our project fails? Do we have to give the money back? Absolutely not. We want failures too, because failures teach us a lot of lessons. So if you have a great idea, put it together. If it fails, that's okay. We still learn something from that. So the awards will likely be sometime late August. We are not going to award all of the money up front, all of it at once, and there will not be a lot of huge projects, because our goal is also to test things out in all different ecosystems. We want rural, suburban, urban. We want different areas of the state. We want you to reach each of those target populations. So I doubt that we will give many awards over $1 million. I could see us giving some awards that are as low as $50,000 if it's a simple project. And I've had questions about, will we fund the development of an app? Sure, if it's part of a larger project, and that's all part of that teaming. If you can, develop or enhance an app and also demonstrate that project, how that product works, say partnering with a public transit agency, and you can do it in the time frame. We do have fairly short time frames because of the nature of this. So 3 to 6 month demonstration periods. We will be doing then evaluations. And when we evaluate the proposals, we're going to kind of break them into 2 groups. Some that are ready to go, because like I said, they wanted some wheels on the road quickly. So if there's some that are ready to go within 45 days, those may be funded in the first round. But then there's going to be others that we know are really great ideas, but they might need some more tweaking or some more time. Or we might find 2 great ideas that would be even better together. Those will provide some technical assistance too. And we will do a second call for projects. I'm guessing January. We're kind of designing this as we go, so it's all a guess. But we will do a second call for projects, again, so that we make sure we do as many demonstrations as we can to learn as much as we can, so that we can help the state move forward and really embrace the new technology to fill these mobility gaps. So we're really excited to see what we learn. We're really excited to see what comes in and to be a model for the rest of the country, if you will. So the most important thing is, how do you find out the information? So the call for projects was already issued. You can get details on the website listed here. Not only will you see the actual call for projects there, you will also see a lot of other resources. So we actually videotaped the workshop that we conducted, so the videotapes are out there. I think some of them, we're getting them all closed captioned. We have a question and answer based on emails that I've been receiving and questions that I get at venues like this. We have an overview of what's a disability and what are invisible disabilities. So people aren't just gearing it towards wheelchairs. That's not the only disability that's out there. What are the needs of veterans? So you'll find a lot of that information on the website. As far as finding partners, the other idea we had was to use hashtag MyMobilityChallenge. So MDOT has Twitter channel and Facebook. Using that hashtag will help connect people that are trying to look for partners or have a common interest in this. There is also an email address that, sorry, it's not on this slide, I realized when I got here, but that is in the challenge, but it's mobilitychallenge@michigan.gov. And I will see those, so any questions that you have, you can also put that way. I did bring this slide basically on cards that are available at the registration desk. So if you want to make sure you've got the website there, you can pick up one of those cards. So that in a nutshell, and I think I got you on time for lunch, is what the challenge is, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
So what's the best way to submit a proposal? Is there a preferred format?
Yes, so the format itself, you'll see when you look at the call for projects, it really spells out the elements that we're looking for, and it spells out how we're going to be evaluating those. So however you want to format it, understanding that that's how we're going to evaluate it. And people have asked me about length. There's no length, but realize this is a quick turnaround. So if you're 100 pages long, I may not have time to read it, and the evaluators may not have time to read it. And there's an email, the email address that I just gave you is where you'll actually submit those to. So, yes, sir.
This usually be presented for multiple cities, or is it going to be started?
I would suggest that it starts with one city or one region. So, because we are trying to cover all areas of the state, and it's too hard to evaluate something and to do something in that short time frame. I've had some people want to do something statewide. I really don't think that's feasible. I think you should focus on either a region or a state or a county or a city or a county. Any other questions? Okay, thanks. If you want to stop me somewhere along the way and ask more specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. Thank you.